Welcome to the Scottsdale Vibes podcast. I'm your host, Alicia Haygood, on location with the one and only Jeremy Mueller, State Farm Insurance. I know I had to come to you because you're so busy right now.
I tell you what, it's May right now, believe it or not. Just the year is flying by. But yeah, thank you so much, and I appreciate you guys coming out.
Absolutely. I love coming here. So listen, I think this is a perfect episode for you. We're talking about the fires this summer. They're expecting a really bad fire season. I have never really lived through fires, so I'm just learning about this red, white, green, or red, yellow, green, right? To be prepared to leave if the fires come down here. We have a severe overgrowth right now.
Right.
So hit me up. What do I need to do to be prepared insurance-wise? Because I bet most of us don't have fire insurance.
Well, you do. I mean, that's home insurance, right? Okay. So home insurance does typically cover fire insurance. If it doesn't, then you need to run because that's what people buy insurance for. But 99.9%, you probably have it. What's interesting is I didn't realize how bad of a problem it is in Arizona. So we have clients in Desert Mountain and some of these northern parts. Right. That are actually being carrier non-renewed by some of these national carriers because of the fire exposure, which you're thinking, Arizona, fire doesn't happen. But they are seeing some stuff that we're not seeing as consumers that are saying, hey, you may be in a higher risk area.
Interesting.
So if you're with someone like State Farm, myself, commercial, you're fine. I mean, we're good. Okay. I mean, we're picking up a lot of business up there. But check with your agency, check with your company. There are some good, especially on some of the higher end carriers. There's some provisions in there that give you some protections where they will come out if say a fire is approaching, and they will actually come and spray it down with
like fire retardant kind of stuff, yeah.
And then they'll clear out the gutters. If you have gutters, they'll make sure the debris. It's more for up north, but I guess we got to start thinking about that in Desert Mountain, Cave Creek, because it is like the numbers are showing because of we were talking earlier about the overgrowth, that there is a potential hazard this summer when it gets so dry and hot.
And that's really open up in that area, right? It's not as developed. They're not going to, even down here in the preserve area, that's where the fires are going to start and can easily spread quickly.
Right, exactly. So you want to be careful, but at the same time, we're not California. Right. So, I see the California wildfires and see the overgrowth there, and it's nothing. I mean, Arizona is nothing. But that said, I mean, we have had some bad, single family, 2-family fires. Yeah. And what people don't realize, it's not necessarily like, okay, my house isn't on fire, but that smoke damage that your neighbor's house does to your home gets in your walls,
I didn't even think about that.
Ruins your art, just everything. That is a definite exposure there. That is covered by home insurance.
Okay.
But smoke damage is real, and I'm almost more scared of smoke than fire because
valid.
it just ruins stuff.
Well, and the fire will just take it away. You can rebuild. With the smoke, it's stuck there almost.
Right. And you see it, you smell it, you feel it, you live through it.
Ugh. Yeah. I'm like cringing now just thinking about that. It's also a good time now that we're talking about it. Might as well just check your policy. I know I'm very guilty of this, and I found out the hard way of not knowing everything is covered or not covered, because if you don't read your pamphlet or your booklet that you get every year, you need to make sure that you have everything. And if you get new items and stuff like that.
Right. And the reality is no one does that, right? No one's going to sit and read that. But I would have to say just Cliff Notes version. Yeah. Make sure your cost to build is up there per square foot, because right now the cost per square foot is so high to build. You can actually buy for less than cost per square foot than to build, that you want to make sure you have enough coverage there, especially if you're up north in these northern areas in the desert.
Well, you've been here. I mean, born and raised, a little Scottsdale boy, turned into man. I won't call you a boy, but have you seen fires?
Young man.
Young man, I like it. Have you seen fires like in Scottsdale ever like this?
There was. So it was late 90s. It had to have been late 90s. Off on Dynamite, where Scottsdale Golf Club is now, right past Troon. There was a bad forest fire there that burned all the acres, and it was unusable for many, many years there.
See?
So it can happen.
That's crazy scary. Well, we all know who to call, Jeremy Mueller here at State Farm, and he has a massive amount of people that are here to help you. I've called and everyone is ready, available. I walk in the door and I have 3 guys sitting there waiting to help me. So call Jeremy Mueller. You can find him at jeremymueller.com, of course, on YouTube, on our newsletter that you should be getting every week, as well as our website. Jeremy, thank you for keeping us safe, protected, and I'll check in with you next month.
Thank you.
When it comes to protecting you, your family, and all your assets, you need to have someone that you can trust. And that's Jeremy Mueller of State Farm Insurance. Jeremy Mueller has lived in Scottsdale his whole life. How can anyone else know your needs more than someone who's been here and seen it all? Jeremy and his team are always ranked in the top % at State Farm. He cares, he's knowledgeable, and most importantly, he's always available. Don't believe me? Give him a call at 480-515-5223 or find him at jeremymueller.com. As the temps have risen quickly, I may add that means that summer is even warmer temps and they're right around the corner. I'm already dreading it. Here we go. And there aren't many people more concerned about the heat than the Arizona Forestry Service. We had a really wet winter, which is great here in Arizona, but that also means massive amounts of overgrowth and the potential for severe fire season. And that's a really big concern right now. We need to take it seriously. Tiffany Davilla is the Arizona Department of Forestry and Fire Management's Public Affairs Officer. Don't let the long title deter you. She is very knowledgeable in here, and she's going to explain to us what we can expect, what we can do as a community, as the Valley. She's an Arizona native, tongue-tied. So she knows all about the heat, the fires, and the overgrowth and what we can expect. She's also an ASU graduate. We won't hold all that against her. She is great, and she's here at the table with me. So Tiffany, thank you so much for joining me. I'm really excited. We've been trying to get you on for a while, but y'all have been so busy.
We have been busy.
So let's talk about right now in this season in particular. You go outside and you see this beautiful, I see pollen. Some people see these beautiful yellow flowers, the green. I've never seen the desert this green in the short amount of time I've lived here, but that's also a scary feeling and look to you all.
Yeah, and right now everyone's enjoying all of the wildflowers that have blossomed from all of this moisture that we've had. But, once we start warming up, that's just kindling for fire. And unfortunately, what we have to kind of explain to the public is, yes, we've had all of this moisture over the last couple of months. We have all of this snowpack in northern Arizona. We've had all of the rain here in central and southern Arizona. But now we have all of this overgrown fuel. You look around, you see all the green, you see all the pretty colors. All of that basically is just going to be kindling for a wildfire here in the next couple of months, even next couple of weeks. Once our temperatures start warming up, we get into the hundreds. All of that fuel is going to dry out, and we can have the potential for a very active fire season, not only in this area, central region, but in southern Arizona also.
Well, I mean, you're just like the bearer of bad news, Tiffany. What a job you have. But let's seriously talk about it, because it's going to go from green to brown really quickly here. We have a massive amount of invasive species that we've talked about with other organizations. The McDowell Sonoran Conservancy is one of them here in Scottsdale for us. Talk about how scary that is, because I know when I've been going on my walks and stuff around the area, I'm seeing the people out there clearing the brush, clearing the side roads. How much is that going to help, but how much will that come back quickly that it's still going to be an issue for us?
Well, we know that globe chamomile is a big issue here in this area. It's just that overgrowth. It's an invasive species. It grows very quick, no pun intended, but it grows and spreads like wildfire.
Yeah.
It dries out, and again, we have that fuel for wildfire potential in this area. Again, once our temperatures warm up, all of that green is going to turn to brown, and people need to be very mindful and very cautious when they're working outdoors, when they're recreating, if they're having a campfire, because, it's kind of like that double-edged sword. We got all of this moisture, which was very much needed for our state. But now we're moving into those months of our high fire activity because of all of this overgrowth of fine fuel across the Sonoran Desert and down into southern Arizona.
What is the biggest fear for you guys right now that y'all are working to prevent? I see y'all out there clearing yourselves and stuff like that. How much in advance do y'all do this throughout the year? Like during the wet months, are y'all still clearing out and helping to prevent forest fires?
Yes, we are working. When we're not doing fire suppression, we're actively involved in fuels management across the state. We're doing our part, and that's why we ask everybody in Arizona, homeowners, the residents, to do theirs also, because it takes all of us as a community to reduce the fire risk. So, when it's the cooler months for us, we're out and about, we're doing that fuels mitigation in areas we know are prone to wildfires, trying to remove some of that invasive species and just keep our forests healthier, protect our watersheds and our communities. But our residents need to do their part also, and that means creating defensible space around their property.
Okay.
And it's as simple as just basic yard maintenance, right? Removing any dead or dying vegetation, keeping your grass watered and mowed, and removing any flammable material from away from your property. That includes things like propane tanks, firewood, and even patio furniture can be flammable.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. I mean, it gets hot.
It gets hot. And it's just those types of items are a source for fire. So if there's a fire in your neighborhood and you've created that defensible space, you've created that barrier to protect your home and reduce that fire risk that fire would enter your property and just destroy everything.
That's scary. All right, let's talk about the forestry department in general, because you're not firefighters. You're really preventative out there. So tell me a little bit about what you all do and how you kind of work with the local community together.
So we do actually have wildland firefighters.
Okay.
We have some hand crews. We have about 12 hand crews that just do type 2 hand crews, and then we have a type 2 IA, which is initial attack. So they're the ones that are actually on the front line. Ooh. When we get a new incident that starts, we'll deploy those IA crews.
Okay.
But yes, you're right. So there's three components I like to say to our agency. We've got the prevention and outreach aspect. We've got the fuels mitigation, and then we have the fire suppression.
Okay.
But we are trying always to get ahead of our fire suppression efforts. We want to reach the public. We want to reach the children in the classrooms and educate, the Rotary clubs, the Chamber of Commerce's, and those types of organizations so that we can spread the message throughout the year and not wait until it's too late to drive that message home of, prevention and what we need to do and what you need to do as our community members to protect your property and protect your neighbors.
Are y'all like the Smokey Bear of Arizona?
We are.
Yes.
We are. So we do utilize Smokey Bear. We utilize Smokey Bear at all of our events.
Okay.
And, it's just another good resource that we have that people can recognize. And it reminds them of either their childhood or growing up and knowing the importance of only you can prevent wildfires.
Right. I swear, that's how I grew up with Smokey the Bear. And so he's great. I love him.
Yes.
I'm introducing my kids to him. He's still on all the fire signs, too. I love it.
Absolutely. Yeah. He is the prevention. He is the mascot for wildfire prevention.
I love that. We're going to take a short break. Let's talk about what you've been doing right now and what we can continue to do to prevent some of these fires. Buying a home can be scary and sometimes frustrating, but all of that can go away with the right realtor. And that's where Sean Shackleton with the Shackleton Group is here for you. Sean has over 25 years experience in real estate. She's here to get you what you want and won't settle for less. She's experienced, knowledgeable, and understands this market, which these days is always changing. Take the stress out of your next home purchase by calling Sean at 480-734-7277. You can also find her at theshackletongroup.com. I'm sitting here with Tiffany Davilla of the Arizona Forestry. She is here talking about this crazy fire season that they are predicting. So talk to me a little bit. I've heard it on the news multiple times. I've seen it on your social media. We are concerned for this year. Tell me about these concerns. When should we expect it, and how do most of these fires start? I know I just threw a lot at you.
No, good questions. But right now we're looking at the potential for our fires to be active in southern Arizona and across the Sonoran Desert. So we're talking the central area here, potential for our wildland urban interface areas in this central area. Because of the fuel in these areas, the fine fuel, the grass, the brush, they don't hold a lot of moisture to begin with. So once our temperatures warm up and we dry out, that fuel just basically dries dries out itself and, again, is just like a tinderbox waiting for that ignition source. So southern Arizona, central region, we have the potential for very active fires. And we don't really have like a typical time frame as far as like a start to finish date for fire season.
Okay.
We just start to see that increase in our activity somewhere between the end of April, beginning of May. And then once we get into
like
our...
right now.
Right, exactly. And once our temperatures start to warm up and we start to dry out, and then we look at our fire activity slowly starting to decrease once we get into the peak of our monsoon season. So just depending on the arrival of our monsoon season, June, July, usually mid-July is when we start to see our fire activities decrease.
Okay.
As far as the fire activity starts, 9 out of 10 fires across the country are started by people. Right now is when we see the bulk of our human-caused fires. We don't really start to see that shift until we get into our monsoon season when we get a lot of that dry lightning that will start fires. But, 65, 75, 80% of our wildfires across the state are started by people. So that's why it's so important that we drive that message home, that it takes all of us to prevent wildfires. And it's all of our responsibilities, not just ours. It's not just our federal partners. It's not just the homeowner, but it takes our whole community to get on board and prevent wildfires across all of Arizona.
I just learned too, I didn't even think about this. I'm from the South. It's very wet down there. No, we get some fires, but nothing like out here. But even like your chains dragging, if you're carrying trailers and stuff like that, the sparks. I mean, there was one a few years ago where a car caught on fire on 17 North and she pulled over and that started a massive fire up there. Little things like that we just are reactive and not thinking about the consequences that are even bigger than that. Do you all think that this will be one of our worst seasons? Or y'all, I mean, I know you're not a fortune teller, but I know that y'all are kind of preparing. Are you preparing differently this year than say last year or anything like that?
No, we take, we prepare and we prepare for the worst, but we hope for the best,
always,
right?
Yeah.
So we will start pre-positioning. In fact, we have pre-positioned some crews in southern Arizona, meaning we're staging them in areas that they can provide that initial attack faster.
Okay.
We're staging them in areas that we know are prone to wildfires and where we have that heightened risk so that they can get to those wildfires faster and protect our communities faster. So we do that always, every year. We want to pre-po our crews. We have aircraft actually coming in this week. Our single-engine air tankers will be landing. We have, for the state, our bases in Marana.
Okay.
Our single-engine air tankers will be here soon. The state contracts the VLATs, which are those very large air tankers. Yep. We contract those from the Forest Service. Those will be arriving shortly also. So we've got all of our crews laid out. We know where they are. We have them pre-positioned because we want to make sure that, in the event that we start to see an increase in our fire activity, we have those crews positioned in place so that they can get to those fires faster.
Perfect. Is there, if we see something, we're like, hey, we'd love to see this brush cleared, can we call you guys? How does that work? Or do we take it upon ourselves or anything like that?
So that's a really good question. One of the programs the state offers is called FireWise USA. And we're basically like the liaison to the FireWise USA program. But it's about engaging homeowners and getting everybody involved within their community or their HOAs. Again, it takes more than just one homeowner doing their job. So we have about 135 FireWise communities across Arizona. We have a lot in Scottsdale. So basically what it entails is kind of like an educational opportunity from us to provide the homeowners what they need to know to get on board.
Okay.
How to clear their brush, what to do for the defensible space purposes. And then we'll actually go out to that community and we'll provide home assessments. So we'll go out there to each property and say, this is great, or this needs to be worked on, move the fuel away from your property, and give the people the opportunity to engage with one another and provide them the tools that they need to create that defensible space, not only around their home, but their community in general. And, because it takes more than just one person to do all of that. It does take a village. So we try to actively engage with communities across Arizona to come onto this platform and be a part of this program because it does open a lot of doors and it reduces that risk across the state.
I mean, especially here for us in Scottsdale, when we have the Sonoran Preserve, it's a huge, massive open area. And I know that our neighborhood where I live, tons of wash area, tons of natural space, and it's definitely overgrown right now. And so I was interested to see how they would do with that.
Yep, and we've done a lot of fuels reduction projects in Scottsdale, North Scottsdale, Carefree Cave Creek area. So we're actively involved across the state in many different communities working to reduce that fire risk. But again, it takes all of us. And, we talk to some people and they're like, oh, it's not going to happen to me.
Always.
There's never going to be a wildfire here. And then it happens and it's too late. And that's why we always push for people to create that defensible space way ahead of time, months in advance, and keep up with it, maintain it, because when there's a fire, it's too late.
Well, let's talk about that really quick. I was going to move on, but this is a great question. What do we do if we are in a fire and our area catches on? I know you have the, what do you do? The red, yellow, green, you all have the lights to go, right?
So it's the Ready, Set, Go program, and it's adopted by the Arizona sheriffs. And that's another good point. When we do evacuations, it's not coming from our agency or the feds. It's coming from law enforcement.
Okay.
We may say, hey, we need evacuations, but ultimately that falls on law enforcement to do the evacuations. So basically there's a program. It's called Ready, Set, Go, and 3 steps. Ready is going to be in the phase we're in now. We're prepared. We've got situational awareness. We've created that defensible space. We're just mindful of our surroundings. Set is usually the pre-evacuation status. So there may be a fire, 5 miles away from your house. Law enforcement has said, hey, you're in set status. That's pre-evacuation. What does that mean to me as a homeowner? I need to have my go bag ready. I need to have my ducks in a row. I need to have that escape route pre-planned out. So if I'm asked to evacuate or go, then I'm ready to leave. And then, of course, go is evacuate now.
Yeah. Scary. I hope I never have to go anywhere because of a fire. I hope it's all by choice.
Yes.
Tiffany, you're a local here. What have you seen over your time of living here in Arizona before you started working, at the Arizona Forestry to now? Have you seen an increase in fires? This summer or this winter we keep mentioning how wet it was. What's been your personal, perspective of this?
Just looking at the past data from the last, I'd say 10 years, it seems to be cyclical. So last year, 2022, we burned about 135,000 acres. That's down 62%.
So that doesn't sound like a lot to
me. Correct.
Okay.
That's down about 62% from the year prior. And then in 2020, we burned almost 1 million acres.
Oh, goodness.
So, because we didn't have a lot of ignitions into that fuel bed down in southern Arizona, where we also had the potential last year for large-scale incidents, now we just have that overgrowth of fine fuel. Now we have fuel on top of fuel, and that's why we're telling the public to just be mindful and be cautious, because we just have this abundance of fuel, and it's going to dry out very soon, sooner than we think. So again, it's really hard to predict, but with the population boom here, with all of the people that are moving into what we call the WUI, which is the wildland urban interface, where the homes meet the wildland, we now have more human interaction.
Okay.
So we now have fire starts in areas that we haven't seen previously because of the population growth, because the Maricopa County is moving out.
People.
Yep. So it's just one of those things where we can't stress enough the importance of fire prevention and creating that defensible space around your property.
Well, now that you've scared everyone into taking care of their life and make sure we're ready, set, go, let's end on a happy note.
Yes.
Tiffany, like I said, you were born and raised here, ASU graduate. What is your favorite Scottsdale vibe?
Oh my gosh. I have so many. I love Arizona. Again, born and raised here, went to Arizona State. I grew up in Fountain Hills.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
So the change out there has been amazing. It's been so incredible to watch that little town grow. But, I love being outside. I hike a lot. I get to see parts of the state in this job that most people don't get to see. But then I also see parts of the state that, unfortunately, people wouldn't want to see either in this job. But I love being outdoors. I love hiking the Superstitions, the McDowells. So this job's great for me. I love being here. I'm so happy I was born here, and I don't think there's any other place I'd rather be.
I love that. As a person who's lived all over the U.S., moved 7 times in 10, 12 years, I think, this is the longest I've ever lived in a city since Georgia, where I grew up, and I freaking love it.
It's amazing. And really quick, I've got friends that don't live here, and they're like, it's so boring there. I'm like, you've never been here. You've never seen our mountains. We've got snow. We've got sun. We're a couple hours from the beach. This is the perfect area to be. And they've never traveled out here, so they haven't given it an opportunity. Yeah, but once people do come out here and see it, it's amazing.
It's a hidden gem.
It is.
You really, we were in Flagstaff 2 weeks ago skiing on a Sunday, and then we were down at the beach and for spring break. So
It's the perfect place for, yes, people that like to be outside.
I love it. Well, thank you so much. All of our support to you and the team, and thank you for keeping us safe. And don't forget to keep your backyard and your area clean. Help your neighbors do theirs. Take your part and to prevent all of this so no one has to be ready, set, go. Stay tuned when we come back, so we'll have some calendar of events. When it comes to family-friendly dentistry, there's only one place in Scottsdale, and that's Arizona Center for Laser Dentistry. Teeth cleaning, innovative, pain-free laser dentistry, teeth whitening, root canals, and really any dental need you may have, Dr. Rob and his staff at Arizona Center for Laser Dentistry can handle it all. They're more than just a dentist, they really are family. We've been going there for over 3 years, and my family loves them. When your kids get excited to go to the dentist, you know you've got a good one. Dr. Rob DeVito is the only dentist in town that can handle it all. Give him a call at 480-990-1905. You can find him on the web at drdevito.com. And don't forget to tell him you heard him on the podcast. For all of those you looking for fun out there, of course, Scottsdale is the place to go. The Whiskey of the World tasting at Sanctuary Camelback is happening, so come enjoy an evening of fine whiskey and tastings with like-minded taste buds. Tickets include free-flowing pours, food pairings, and a take-home glass. Speaking of food, we need to appreciate Arizona Restaurant Week that's happening, so all you foodies out there, this is the week for you. Try some of your many places that have been on that bucket list of restaurants to try. Support our local restaurants. We all love and appreciate them, so let's show them some love and go out extra special this week. And Taliesin West is having so many events on here, I couldn't even list them, so I just shared their events page. There's Friday night films, sunset sips, summer camps, family events, and the play Much Ado About Nothing is also happening. So click on the links in the description of this episode to find all the details, ticket pricing, and as well as the restaurants for Restaurant Week. Have a wonderful week, Scottsdale. Keep vibing, and I'll see you around town.